All right, AP Psych students, this is our second section of the brain we'll look at. Here's a quick warm-up. If you want to jot down the answers real quick or enter them in your head, you can. Pause it now, because we're going to start going through the next set of answers. So when we look at the answers, again, remember with the hindbrain, a lot of it's those automatic functions. So that's stuff you have little or no control over. And again, there's just the different functions of the parts. What happens if we're damaged? And that would be your hindbrain warm-up. So main thing we're looking at today, the limbic system. This is going to be the second section of the brain. It's going to be one of the smaller sections with only three main parts. You'll have a little more control over this. As a teenager and a child, this is the part of the brain that is working at its most efficient rate. So we tend to be a little over dramatic. We tend to overreact, and that's because we're thinking with the limbic system. So the limbic system itself, it's a donut-shaped neural structure right here in the center of the brain. So we would have to cut the brain almost straight down the middle, and then you'd be able to see these. So this is going to be protected by that fatty outer covering we call the cerebral cortex. It's going to be at the border of the brain stem, we talked about last time, and then the cerebral cortex, which we'll talk about next time. And the three main parts are going to be the hippocampus, this long string-like structure, the amygdala, and then the hypothalamus. And this is going to be your memory or emotional control center. So when we look at the hippocampus, this is going to be involved in processing memories. At one point, they thought it was where we stored memories, but this is just the processing. So like if your hippocampus processes it, it becomes an explicit memory, something that we can recall, we can actively talk about. Birthdays, first kisses, anything like that. So this is going to be connected to the sensory parts of the cerebral cortex or forebrain. That way what we hear, what we see, what we feel, what we understand can all be processed and then sent to the hippocampus in the cerebral or the limbic system. If we damage it, we're going to have a loss of memories. And it's just going to be anterograde or retrograde, just depending on where the hippocampus is damaged. Second part, the amygdala. It's going to be this blue almond-like structure connected to the hippocampus. The amygdala itself, there's going to be two, one on each side, the left and the right side. And these are going to be linked to our survival emotions, fear and anger. Those two emotions help us survive and help us detect threats. So those are two of the emotions that we're born to feel. So this is going to be your thermostat for anxiety. So if the amygdala is active, then you'll probably be more of an anxious, maybe angry or fearful person. Teenagers, we tend to overreact, become fearful of change, overreact to slight changes, things like that, and that's because we're processing as teens all of the information with the amygdala. So if we process information with this and it controls this, these are our go-to reactions. So why do children and teens primarily process info through the amygdala? The short answer, the amygdala is myelinated, your frontal cortex is not. So as you mature, as you get older, myelin sheath will start to develop on the frontal cortex, and then you'll become more of a calm, rational person. And so because teens and children primarily think with the amygdala, this is going to explain why teens tend to overreact, overdramatic with their environment. And so damage to this area, it's not going to result in you feeling fear and anger. It's going to result in a problem in detecting fear and anger. Because we need to notice, like if this person is arguing with me, I'm going to look at his face and see that as a threat, so my body needs to engage or be prepared to deal with that threat. So that's important that we recognize people's faces. Hypothalamus is going to be the pleasure center. It's going to direct a lot of our maintenance activities, eating, drinking, body temperature, control of emotions. And it's also going to control the endocrine system through the pituitary gland. In fact, when you look, here would be the hypothalamus, and then that right there, that would be the pituitary gland. So they're connected. So if we damage the hypothalamus, decrease or increased problems with hunger, thirst, saliva production, body weight, those can fluctuate just depending on which part is damaged. And then obviously, since it's linked to food, digestion problems would also be a problem. There you go. There's the limbic system midbrain. And we will see you, hopefully be meeting Mr. Carr next time on the cerebral cortex.